I work with a lot of small business owners, and one of the biggest questions I hear them ask, and not of me, is how can we get more sales? We need more in the pipeline. We need to get better average sales. And what if there was a way to do that that may be a little counterintuitive to the way you do business? What if you didn't have to knock on so many doors? What if you didn't have to cold call so many people? What if you could close at a higher rate or an escalating rate of sales? That's what we're going to talk about today with our guest, Craig Andrews. My name is Corey Harlock. I'm the creator of Key Hire. I'm here at Key Hire World Headquarters, and I'll be your host for the podcast today. Some quick notes. If you have any questions for us as we go through this, please drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and we'll try to answer those for you. If you like what you're hearing, like, share, follow, do what you got to do. Let us know that you enjoy the content. We're always happy to have you along. Today, our guest is Craig Andrews. He is the principal of a company called Allies for Me. Unique story. We'll hear a bit about it, but his wife had the chance to pull the plug on him earlier this year or late last year, and she didn't. So that's a good thing. He's authored 2 books, and they'll both be coming out soon. One is called Hope That Won't Die, and it's about his near-death experience. And the other one is about sales, called Make Sales Magical. Why did he create Allies for Me? Well, he sucked at sales. And rather than cold calling more people, he wanted to create a market where people wanted to buy from him, which I think ideally we would all love to be able to do. We'd all love to be able to do that. So Matt, bring on Craig.
Hi, Corey.
How was the intro? Did I get it? Did I get it right?
You sure did. That was wonderful, Corey. It's a delight to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Awesome. Yeah, we like to do brief bios because reality is no one's dialing in to hear my story or hear us pat ourselves on the back. So Allies for Me, you're a principal, and I know what we're talking about today is the art of the pre-offer or your initial offer, how to engage people and how to get them in, and then ideally sell more to them, right?
Yeah. Well, not only sell more, so we like to say close more deals faster and at higher prices.
That, in theory, that sounds great. I think we'd all love to be able to do that, right? Isn't that the name of the game?
It is, and it's only is it theory, but at least for me, it's been reality, and for some others, it's been reality. It kind of ties into the title of the book, Make Sales Magical. It really does feel like magic, especially if you're someone like me who truly sucks at sales, and and just as a matter of necessity, I need to put food on the table. I need to figure it out, and the sales scripts and all the traditional sales training wasn't right for me. It just didn't fit my personality, and I could never fake it. And so it really was about, at some point, I was like, I just need to create an environment where people want to buy, and then I can be me and I can serve them best. And, it's funny. We have this little thing in us where we crave autonomy. And if you want to see somebody act out, anybody that's had children know this is true in spades. As soon as you start encroaching on their autonomy, you see some of the worst behavior out of them that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
As adults, we haven't shed ourselves of those tendencies. We tend to be a little bit more clever and a little more disguised in it, but we still have the same issues. And right. So stealing somebody's autonomy through pressure techniques or something like that actually I believe does more damage to sales than helping sales.
Okay, so before we do that, because I'm a big believer, and we've kind of thrown a big meatball out there, and now people are wondering, well, what the hell is going on here? We gotta give us your. It's going to be hard, 30 to 60-second pitch on your book about Hope That Won't Die, about your near-death experience, because people are thinking, well, what the heck happened there?
Yeah, so that's a book that was co-written with my wife, and the setting is August 10th, 2021 until November 6th, 2021. when I was in the hospital. And I went in with COVID. It was the Delta variant of COVID. It was kind of weird because I was in exceptional health, and very few, actually less than 1% of people that got COVID went in the hospital. And usually it was people that had other medical issues going on. But for some bizarre reason, I went in the hospital and went on the ventilator. And at that point with Delta variant, if you went on the ventilator, you died. And I was the first one to leave that ICU alive. And my understanding is very few did. Like potentially, I've heard from a senior medical official in Austin say it was probably single digits in the entire hospital system here in Austin.
Crazy. Well, we're happy you made it through.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Sorry.
Go
And so, the book tells, it's 3 parts: Craig's story, part 2 is Karen's story, my wife's story, and part 3 is lessons from the journey.
Very cool. Good work, important work for people to understand, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So let's get into business there. How to create an effective first-time offer. So what is a first-time offer? So, sometimes the first-time offer is I called you up and said, hey, I'm selling something, right? That's my first-time offer, but you have a different definition. So walk people through in your world and in what you do. What is a first-time offer?
Yeah, first-time offer is something you offer only once, and it's something to kind of christen the relationship, to open up the relationship. And one way of thinking about it is think about courtship. And when you meet somebody, you don't immediately say, hey, let's get married. Let's enter into some binding contract where if we decide to exit that contract, it gets messy and ugly quickly. No, we usually go out for a coffee date, and you're taking risk out. It's a much lower engagement, but the goal is you go on it because you're hoping for bigger and better things.
Right.
And so first time offer is usually a mini project that is an opportunity for you to go into somebody's life and solve a real problem that they have, while leaving the big problems unsolved that you help them solve. And it's like that coffee date that kind of brings you in. It's priced, when I say it's priced aggressively, that doesn't give proper parameters. It is stupidly cheap. It's structured in a way, and there's a lot that goes into the structure of them, but structured in a way that if you present these offers in front of a qualified buyer, they're going to say yes.
Okay.
And when they say no, one of the things I've learned is, just take them at their word. When they say no, there's a reason we're not a fit. And most of the time I can figure it out. Sometimes I don't know the reasons behind it, but over the years, I've discovered when somebody turns down one of our first time offers, celebrate that as much as you do the folks that say yes, because you've just saved yourself a lot of time for a number of reasons. They're probably not a fit for you.
Okay.
And instead of wasting their time and your time, you can move on with more productive things.
It's like that old saying, sometimes the best deal is the one you don't make, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, as a matter of fact, this morning I was doing I was on a sales call, and one of the things I heard, I can tell when I present the offer, I usually know within half a second if they will ever be a client. And this person gave off the vibes of they gave the words, well, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. In my mind, I've already marked that deal as closed, lost. I'm not fretting it. I'm not regretting it. I don't know what's going on in their world, but I know that they saw an offer where if that delivers a ton of value to them and no commitment for a stupidly cheap price. And if they said no to that, there's something going on that I'm probably not aware of, where I would realize, no, this is not a good engagement to move forward with.
Right. So are there any industries or product specific or services that this works best for, or is this a strategy that kind of works across the board?
Well, let me remove the easy one first. If you're doing low ticket, um, there could be a first time offer, but not in the context that we're talking about. The way we engineer these, it requires, it by design has a high level of human touch, and that's an essential ingredient. And so if you're doing low ticket stuff, you can't afford a lot of human touch.
So low
Yeah,
ticket, you mean like 2-for-1 pizza, kind of like if what you're selling isn't of huge value, or you're dealing in low price, high volume, it's not going to work as well.
and even above the price of pizza, if what you're selling
I was
is,
just using pizza as the
yeah,
kind of,
but yeah, no, it's the same concept. Like, generally, a starting point is we're looking for the value to your business. Your core offer value should be at least 20K over 6 months, or within a 6 month period or more.
okay,
Generally more, and it's because the amount of human touch required to deliver it. You need to reap sufficient lifetime value off that
got it.
to make it pay off. Otherwise, you're just going to work yourself to the bone and starve by other means. So
Sure.
yeah, so usually we would say 5, 6, 7 figure B2B. Usually it's B2B service. It could be consultants. It could be coaches. It doesn't have to be B2B. It could be B2C. So like financial advisors, the holy trinity is high ticket, long sales cycles that require a high level of trust.
Okay. And so did I understand correctly? We're dealing primarily with service providers.
Usually, almost always. That's the easiest one to make these work for.
Okay, cool. So just in context of going forward, we're talking with service providers. You've mentioned a couple different elements that you've kind of put into these. I'm not asking you for your secret sauce because you're not going to give it to me anyway, but can you talk kind of broadly around what are some of the elements or some of the kind of ingredients that you might want to mix in here just to kind of tease people and get them to think, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and actually, I don't have any issues sharing the secret sauce. It's coming out in the other book that you mentioned.
Okay.
What I found is we give people the instructions, and then they step in all the pitfalls that we tell them to avoid.
Right.
I've watched it over and over again. So there's we get paid for expertise, and we can execute these well. So here are the elements. If we kind of go through them. Think of it as two sets of ingredients in making a cake. One makes the cake, the other makes the icing for the cake. So the first set of ingredients is it has to be a impulse purchase. That means the coins in the cushion, the couch, the money in the wallet, or the B2B equivalent of that. And some parameters, just to give some folks some numbers to wrap that around. If it's B2C, it's almost always less than $100. If it's B2B, it's almost always less than $500.
Okay.
And the reason for that,
$499.99.
Yeah, we usually do $497, but yeah. But the reason for that is if you're dealing with a business, anybody with any decision-making authority will be able to spend $500 without having to ask permission.
Right.
If they spend that $500, nobody's going to hunt them down to see how it was spent. They'll never be held accountable for it. If you're dealing with a business owner, you don't want them doing mental calculations on, is this a good value? It should be such a glaring good value that it would be, it's obvious and it doesn't take any calculation. So that's the first thing, impulse purchase. Second thing is it has to deliver disproportionate value to price. And so our goal, if we're charging $497 for something, we're trying to deliver $5,000 of value in what we're delivering. And so that's what drives the high ticket, right? That's why we're saying you want to have your core offer, 5 figures or higher, because if you're delivering $5,000 of value on the front end for which you're not being paid well for,
right,
you need to be able to recoup sufficient amount of value on the back end where you are paid well. So disproportionate value to price, it has to solve a problem. Now, this is really key. This is really important. People will say, well, we do an audit. And my issue with that is, you know what? An audit just highlights the problems that are there.
It tells you got a bunch of problems.
Right. Other people say, hey, we do assessments. And I say, assessment's just a nice word for an audit.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
But what happens is when you come shoulder to shoulder with somebody, and this is some of the magic. This is why we say it truly is magic. When you come shoulder to shoulder with somebody and you solve a problem in their life, it causes the release of oxytocin in their body. That is a natural hormone. It's the bonding hormone that bonds baby to mother. And when you help somebody solve a problem in their life, you're releasing oxytocin and it's creating a bond between you and them. And there is some amazing power. There's a number of things that go into this, but that's one of the most powerful things. Okay. So it has to solve a problem. Obviously, you don't want to solve all their problems because if you solve all their problems, they're going to get a tremendous deal and they're not going to buy your core offer. They're going to thank you and you're going to go poor. And so lastly, you want to lead to your core offer. And so that would be when I said there was 2 groups of ingredients. That's sort of the first group. That's like the cake. Let's talk about the icing that goes into how you structure these. So it should have a minimum of 4, maximum of 5 deliverables.
Okay.
And there's a few reasons for that. Part of it is when you have only 1 or 2 deliverables, it doesn't feel like an overwhelming delivery of value. Okay. So 4 or 5 deliverables feels like an overwhelming delivery of value. More than 5 gets too overwhelming, and it starts taxing the brain. You never want to tax somebody's brain. A confused mind will not buy.
Correct.
So that's one thing. At least one of those 4 or 5 deliverables must be the product of a co-working session. And we actually recommend 2 or 3 sessions, kind of workshops in the process. And that's actually mimicking an aspect of dating where intimacy is built at rapid speeds. Okay. And what you want to do during those is you really want to ask a lot of questions. Your job is to put up the bumper guards and get them to roll the ball down the lane. And you just keep the bumper guards up so the ball is rolling in the right direction. Because that ties in another aspect that's important. One of those deliverables, at least one, you want them to feel like the actual deliverable is their idea, not your idea.
Okay.
And so that does a couple things. It triggers 2 cognitive biases. One is called the IKEA effect. The other is called the endowment effect, both of which cause them to value it more highly. And the other thing that it does when you do this is if it's their ideas, when it comes time to move forward, because again, these naturally lead to the next step towards your core offer. If they feel like it's their ideas, for them to not move forward would require that they reject their own ideas.
Okay. So there's some psychology at play here.
There's a lot of psychology. This whole process is triggering about 6 psychological levers that are all working inside people's brains that really, it's stacking the deck in your favor, but it's doing it in an ethical way because you're delivering an amazing amount of value to these people for a stupidly cheap price.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this as you're talking, and I've been guilty of this, right? You're delivering the first time offer that is a bunch of value. And there's kind of 2 questions in here, I think. Let me see where we go with this. Number 1 is some people get addicted to the quick hit, the easy sale. When I used to do a lot of speaking, I would speak for free and I would cancel money-making engagements to go speak because it's like people wanted me. Yeah. And then when I finally had the epiphany, it's like, no. And then I started charging. Well, no one wanted me to speak. So it was an awakening for me. But I would assume you have to be careful and not get addicted to the quick hit, which leads to the second challenge is then some people feel that asking now, okay, I've got them in and I've done all this psychological voodoo, and now I'm going to ask them for the sale. It's that kind of used car salesman. I feel like I might be taking advantage of them, or maybe I've given them enough, or maybe I should do a little extra before I ask. And it's putting those lines around the offer and not doing too little or getting addicted to doing the easy stuff and overcoming that fear of asking for the big sale. Did that make any sense at all to you?
It did. And the first thing I would say is when you do this right, you're not the one doing the asking. It's your prospect that's asking you.
Okay. Well, that makes it easy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of making sales magical. And the reason they're asking is because you helped them solve a problem and you delivered a ton of value for a stupidly cheap price. By the way, I never said free. And that's really key. You got to charge for these. Please don't do these. Please don't do work for free.
Well, because free doesn't get you over that hurdle of them being comfortable paying you for what you're doing, right? It's now you're going from free to big ticket and there's no little bridge in there.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. There's another factor. It's Dr. Robert Cialdini called it consistency, which was one of 6 categories of influence in his book Influence. And that is, once somebody acts like a customer once, the probability that they'll act like a customer again goes up significantly.
Okay.
So the concept there is make them a customer as quickly and cheaply as possible. And for them to maintain consistent behavior, they would continue as a customer.
Interesting.
So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is people's behavior changes when they pay money, and you have their attention, you have their commitment, you get a better engaged prospect when they've actually paid you. And let me give an example back from COVID. Back in 2020, when COVID first hit, there were a lot of businesses that they couldn't go to work, and they felt doomed. And I started seeing this, and it just broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart. And so I offered something. I called it the $25 30-minute COVID breakthrough strategy, or something like that. And basically, if anybody wanted to jump on Zoom with me for a half hour, I would help them figure out how to drive revenue, whatever their business was. I'd help them figure out how to drive revenue under the constraints of COVID. And I had some people take me up on that, and including somebody who was a speaking coach for people, coaching people to go on stages and speak. We helped him figure out how to drive revenue during lockdowns when there were no stages. But I had somebody else who came to me, and she had a business. I forgot the exact nature of the business, but her business was stuck. She was in the same issue. And she said, Craig, I'd really like to help you pick my brain on, or help pick your brain on how I can drive revenue during this time. And I said, sure thing. I said, that'd be $25. And she said, no. And I was like, okay, then I now see where you value your business. My time is worth way more than $25. Sure. I'm doing this because my heart's breaking watching businesses fail. But if you're not willing to spend $25 on your business, if that's too risky for you, then no, you're not welcome to my time. I'm going to focus my time on people that value their business at least $25. So that's the other thing that happens is when you charge some price, you will find there are people out there that, I don't know if they're kicking tires or looking for competitive bids or whatever it is, that will say no at that point, but they never intended to really use you. They're not serious. Right. So charging something immediately filters out the non-serious folks.
And to put that in perspective, when your books come out, don't give them to people, because if you want to guarantee someone not read your book, give it to them for free. Yeah. If you want to guarantee they will read it, make them pay you for it. Because people, I think what the stats are 90-something% of people who get a book for free never crack the spine. But if you pay for the book, the odds of you reading it are 80 something percent that you'll at least start it.
No,
So
and that's great advice. And I'm thinking I have a few books laying around here that somebody gave me and
you've never read them.
never read them.
So we started touching on some of this stuff. What, I got a business and we're providing a service. Maybe we're an IT company. Maybe I'm consulting on something. What are, and we may have danced around some of these, but what would you say are the top 2 or 3 mistakes people make when they try to create something? Or you mentioned the pitfalls, right? I'll give you the roadmap and you're still going to make the mistakes that we tell you not to make. But even beyond, crafting a first-time offer, or if I'm going to try to do something different to stand out, what are the mistakes a business owner, in your experience, generally will make?
Well, and let me give one that is common both to first-time offers, but also I think more broadly, whether or not you're selling a first-time offer, and it is the insatiable desire to sell that pretty much any business owner has. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you don't sell, you don't put food on the table. But what I would liken it to is, I was in the Marines for 6 years and they taught me how to shoot. And one of the first things they do is they teach you, don't focus on the target. You focus on the front sight post of the rifle. That's where your focal point is. And they actually had us repeat, put the clear tip of the front sight post on the blurry, Charlie target. And they had us repeat these things where we would say the target is blurry, the front sight post is clear. Well, if we think about the target as being buying your core offer, your high ticket offer, if that's the target, the mistake that people make, especially if they're trying to make a first time offer, is that insatiable focus on the sale. If they move their focal point to, I'm here to serve you for a short period of time, and I'm going to try to deliver as much value to you as possible in these constraints. And when you put your focus there, your hitting average goes way high.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, and so the other side of that is, sometimes as a service provider, because I fall into that category, you want to help so much that you give everything away without asking for anything in return.
Yeah, and that's why these offers are very carefully crafted to make sure you're delivering value, but to make sure, again, you have to solve a problem, but you have to leave the big problems unsolved.
Right.
And so that's the thing, is when you have the time, when you've put the time in to build the right offer, and you present that offer at a stupidly cheap price, when somebody says no to that, just accept, this is somebody, for whatever reason that maybe I understand, maybe I don't understand, this is somebody I cannot help.
Right. They're not ready yet. The pain isn't enough for them yet.
Yep. Yeah. And what I found is those that do buy that, it tightens the relationship. And as a matter of fact, here's an example. I recorded a video testimonial with somebody this morning who bought one of our first time offers. And in the process of going through it, first thing we said was, I think you have a really tough problem you're trying to solve. And here are the barriers. And in delivering the first time offer, he realized, what? He had just started this business. And he realized, no, this is the wrong model. And he actually sold his business and had it absorbed into a larger business that was able to address some of the problems that we highlighted in that. And so I feel good about that exchange, because he had spent a lot of money with other marketing folks who had never told him this. And so after spending just, a few hours with us, he was able to make better decisions. He's now leaving, testimonials for why people should work with us. And if he ever runs into, as he runs into people that we can help, he has the confidence to say, you need to go talk to Craig, pay him $500. You're going to get a ton of value. You're not even obligated at the end of that.
Yeah, cool. So we've talked about what it is. We've talked about the mistakes people make when they try to do it. So other than calling you, if I wanted to start thinking about an effective first-time offer, what are some of the things I need to think about, or how do I start understanding what that key point of entry pain point is that I can solve for someone to start putting together this first-time offer?
Well, and you said something really key there. And this is, so the short answer, we have a guide and a course we're going to give your audience that helps them avoid a lot of the mistakes that I made in figuring this out. But you said, what's the key pain? Getting the pains wrong is the unforgivable sin of first-time offers.
Okay, good. I'm glad I brought it up because that's a big one. All right.
Yeah. You have to go in and you have to balance. That would be the first thing, is you have to figure out the pains that your customer is feeling, not the pains that they have, but they don't know they have. And so many business owners fall into this mistake. They're like, my customers need this. And I'm like, do they realize that? No, but we got to fix this. I'm like, you're going to go hungry trying to solve a pain they don't feel.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that the pain's not there. It's not real, but if they're not aware of it,
or they're using a different language for it, right? I think sometimes as consultants, we get stuck on our vocabulary that we've created, and we try to use it with someone, and it doesn't land with them. It doesn't resonate with them. And they could be feeling a pain that is directly related to what you're trying to fix for them, but they don't understand or don't see that connection themselves. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And my first-time offer failed miserably because I was trying to fix a pain that my customer didn't realize they had.
Is it a case of sometimes we just try to get too cute, too clever with it?
That happens. That happens a lot, but in the context of pains, I run into this every single week. Somebody's telling me about some pain their customer has, and inevitably I'll ask them. I was like, have you ever heard your customer express that pain? They're like, no, but they have it. I know they have it. Right. And so it's not trying to be. I think it's part of the curse of expertise, because you're good at what you do. You know the problems that are keeping your customers from achieving what they're trying to achieve in life. And out of a good heart, you want to solve that for them. But before you can solve that for them, they need to realize that that's an issue for them. And there's only so much persuasion you can do in the sales conversation. So something else we talk about that's an advantage of first-time offers, somebody won't buy from you if they have a broken belief system. And all of our customers have a broken belief system to some degree. And so when their broken belief system changes to a correct belief system, then they're in a position to buy from you because they understand how you're going to remove those issues in their life. Well, some of that belief system you can change in the sales conversation, but some of it you can't. It's too embedded, it's too entrenched, it's too hard. And what we found is we can change those elements during the delivery of the first-time offer, because we have a little bit more of their time, we have a little bit more of their attention. They've paid us money. And so we now have a relationship where, as the consultant, we're actually consulting with them. And a lot of our consulting looks like us asking them questions. And when we ask the questions, all of a sudden they start saying, well, I didn't think about that. And it's the powerful use of questions that takes them on a journey of discovery to the point where they realize, oh my goodness, I have this problem here and I never even realized it.
And what I was thinking as you were talking is, sometimes, as like you said, when we're consultants and we're experts in our area and we've dealt with lots of people, we can see the problem before our potential client or client can, and we make the mistake of forgetting the steps and just jumping right to the problem. And we haven't brought them along with us through those stages to get them to go, oh, okay, now I know what you're talking about. We just say it because it might make sense to us and we see it clearly, but there are several steps or experiences away from going, oh, now I know what you're talking about. And I'll share a really great example with you. So I have a client who's come back to me, and I haven't worked with him in a couple years, but he's one of my favorites. Loved work. I did and will and do love working with him. But this is a decades old company, and we put kind of one of the first truly professional operators in this company. And we put together this plan for him and how we wanted everything to end up for him. And just saying to him in the conversation, I said, since we put, person A in your company, has it redefined what a good employee looks like for you? And he went, absolutely. But he didn't know what good looked like until we got him good,
Right.
So we had to take him through the process to get him there. And here we are 3 years later, and he's like, now I know the level and the professionalism that I need for my business to push me forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, a long way of my self-indulgence and my story to kind of take you back to your point. But yeah, we got to remember the journey of our clients sometimes, and not just kind of rush to the pain point, because they might go, yeah, it's not my pain.
Well, it gives a false sense of efficiency. So when you see the problem, your brain says, oh, I'm going to point this out. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it quickly, and we're going to move on. The paradox is when you take the slow route and you get them to the point where they realize it on their own.
It's stronger. It's more powerful.
And you fix it faster.
Yeah. And someone once told me, a friend of mine, Keith, he once said, when you tell them what their problem is and they're not ready or to hear it or understand it yet, they think you don't understand their problem.
Yeah.
And so you kind of start losing that trust. Like, man, I don't know if this guy gets what I'm trying to do here. When we do, but we've just moved too quickly or haven't brought them along on the journey that they need to be on.
Yeah.
Very cool. Man, this has been great. I think it's super valuable. I've learned a ton as a service provider, and I'm thankful you're still with us. And I'm thankful that, I know your time is even more valuable than it used to be. So I'm grateful that you chose to spend some time with us today. So you got lots of stuff that you got things happening, and I know people are going to want to get in touch with you. So tell us, start with your contact info first, and then Matt will flash up the free gift stuff.
Yeah. So the website is allies4me.com. It's spelled ALLIES, the number 4me.com. And on there we have, a get started page, and you can contact me there. If you Google Craig Andrews, I think I'm the number one search result. My LinkedIn page is number one search result. But I also have I have a gift for your audience, and it's two things. One is we have a guide for making first-time offers, so you can avoid some of the mistakes that I made, and I made many mistakes, and occasionally still do. But that guide will help you avoid a lot of the mistakes that I made. We also have 23 days access to a course. And to explain the 23 days access, we study human behavior, and we know that if we offer a free course, you'll sign up and never take it. It will not change your life. Our goal is to change lives. And so when we put a 23-day limit on it, we actually see it in the analytics. People run in, they sign up, and they consume the content, which makes us happy, because we believe high ticket sales are broken, and we're on a mission to change that. So they can get that free gift, 2 free gifts, if they go to allies4me.com/key hire.
Key hire, one word, no dash, right?
One word, all lowercase.
Beautiful. Well, that's awesome. Thank you. That's super generous of you. We definitely appreciate it. Again, thanks so much for your time. we're all about giving business owners a peek behind the curtain, access to experts and information they might not otherwise have access to. And this conversation has been great. I think it's very thought-provoking for them, even if they're starting to understand even their own sales journey about, hey, maybe we're moving too quickly. Maybe there is something here we can do better, or do a first-time offer that can warm us up to people and start building that trust and bridge that gap. So again, we're a help first podcast. We want to make sure people are just getting usable information, things they can walk away with and change or implement into their business. So I really thank you for spending your time with us and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Corey. It's been a delight.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Craig. There he is, Craig Andrews. Allies, for me, some really I found it super useful and interesting information. I hope you did too. I'm a service provider, so I loved everything you had to say, and I'll definitely be chewing on it for a while. If you like the podcast, you like what you hear, give us a like, give us a follow, share it with other people. We're here to serve the small business community, and we want you to get the information you need. If you have any ideas for podcasts you'd like to see, ping me, let me know. We're here to help you. If you want to get in touch with me, there's a couple ways we can do that. We have our website. It's keyhire.solutions. Solutions is our domain. It's not a .com. Keyhire.solutions. You'll see everything on there. You can even sign up for a free consultation if you have some questions about your talent strategy or acquisition process, or you're feeling a little overwhelmed. You know you have some talent issues, but you just can't put your finger on it. Sign up. We're happy to have a conversation with you. No sales, no weirdness, just good conversation. And the goal is to give you info you can put into your business. You can check us out on YouTube. Hours and hours and hours of content. While you're there, make sure you subscribe to that channel to get everything you need. You can hit us up on our LinkedIn page. There it is. Follow us on LinkedIn. Yeah, just go to LinkedIn and type in Key Hire Solutions. We'll come up there, and we're always posting our content on that as well. Matt, did I miss anything? You can listen to our podcast on any of the major providers. And you can find that on the website as well, or just Google Key Hires Small Business Podcast, and all of the options will come up. So thanks again to Craig. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We sure appreciate you guys listening. We're top 200 on Apple, and our weekly listens are taking off. This thing is getting bigger than we ever thought it would. So I appreciate everyone tuning in and listening to all the episodes. We will talk to you guys in a few weeks. Until next time, stop grinding, start growing.